Let's play some hockey. Tonight.
Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Welcome to another episode of Gouche Live, right here, talking with Taylor. Taylor's coming up in a few seconds. You're wondering why I'm humming. You know why? Because I am in the Zen maker. I got to get the Zen moment so that I can deal with my good buddy Scott Taylor. And of course, Jordan LaRoche, our incredible producer. He's got a present for us today. His father is in the house. What do you think of that? Actually, in my house. We're all staying together for a couple of weeks. We're actually going to see the Ottawa Senators play in a couple of weeks. We'll keep you informed on our little road trip. We'll do like a 24-hour road trip to see the Ottawa Senators slay the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hey, today's all about the Central Division. Over the last couple of days, couple of shows, we've been talking about the Central Division, and we left the best for last. Of course we did. It's called the Winnipeg Jets. But I want to read this behind it. It says, inspiring the next generation to design, make, and play. And that's what they're doing here. They're actually taking hockey players and taking them out of their normal circumstances and putting them into rooms here to learn how to, 3D printing. Who knew? I watched this thing be made in front of my eyes, a 3D maker. I wonder if they can clone me. That'd be a lot of fun. Hey, well, thank you for joining us on Gouche Live. Of course, talking with Taylor, brought to you by those good people at the Hockey News and, of course, Sports Illustrated. And my producer's always saying, Gouche, do a plug. So I'll do a plug. You can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, about 14 other platforms I don't even. And I'm going to promise you one thing as Greg walks in the background. I'm going to learn how to TikTok. Here we go. Scott Taylor.
I am not, Carrie. I am not going to TikTok.
I think you should TikTok.
I'm not there yet. No, not me.
Nothing like that?
I have trouble walking forward, my friend.
Hey, listen, in exactly how many hours until we're on the ice? 3 hours, this fat body is getting on the ice. Your friend, Norm Bowden, arguably one of the best known Jets. Of course, maybe Bobby Hall will say, but Norm Bowden and I are going to be on the ice together. 80 years
Norby
old.
Bowden was the first Jet ever signed.
I know.
Yeah.
He's 80 years old, and they're wanting me to back check. So what it is, Scotty, I get a chance to play. It's called The Battle for Blood Cancer. Of course, we've all been touched with cancer. Norm Bowden himself, prostate cancer also. So it's a big deal today. I'm blessed that I can go on the ice and have a little bit. It's only 3-on-3, and I'm told the rinks have been shrunk to only one, not one half, but one end. I think I'm going to be in the offensive zone.
Can I tell a cancer story?
Of course you can.
At the start of this racing season at the Assiniboia Downs in Winnipeg, there was a trainer named Shelley Brown. She was the first female to be champion trainer at the Downs back in 2012. Last September, she was diagnosed with cancer that had infected her entire body. She had 3 to 6 months to live in September of 2020. And her horse, Hidden Grace, went out to Edmonton and won the $50,000 CTHS sales stakes in Edmonton. And it seemed to change her entire attitude toward everything in her life. And so she got through the winter and she set up her barn in the spring at Assiniboia Downs. And she had about 20, 25 horses and she trained all summer. And now she's supposed to be dead at this point. This is well past her 6 months. Just this past week on Wednesday night, her horse Midnight Salute won the final race of the season at Assiniboia Downs. And she's there in the winner's circle giving the Midnight Salute. And yesterday she spent the day loading up her horses to head back to Edmonton to race more at Century Mile in Edmonton. And despite all the cancer, you're going to die. You have 3 months to live. It's over. Despite it all, she has battled through it. She looks great and is going off to run her horses in Edmonton for the rest of the season. And this is an incredible story. It's now been a year after given a 3-month diagnosis.
Oh my God, what a wonderful story. It's inspirational to hear that, right? Because I lost my father to prostate cancer. Yep. The prognosis wasn't good, and it ended quickly, unfortunately, and I miss the guy every day. Hey, listen, I got a good buddy here, Rick Campbell. I said, hey, we need another player. Thank God he's about 40 pounds heavier than I am, because at least I'll look fast. If Norm Bowden outskates me, I'm quitting. That's it. Probably can. But anyways, Rick Campbell, I said, hey, we need a guy. Come on, join us up. And he donated $1,000 towards the cause. So I want to do a big shout out. And Ryan O'Quinn, this gentleman has put this thing all together. It's called Battle for Blood Cancer. Really excited about being a part with the Bowden family. Hey, let's get into it. You know who my favorite team is, and you know who your favorite team is. I'm trying to get the kid to the dark side. He's just really, really not doing well. He's got those New York Rangers, and I want to try and they're the same color jerseys. Just peel the logo off and you put the Jets on it. I want to get your first thoughts on where we sit. Breaking news. Zdeno Chara. Barry Trotz has pulled a coup. He's got the 65-year-old playing on defense for him. He's 6 foot, 12?
6'9". He's the tallest person my daughter had ever seen as an athlete. Years and years ago, she was about 17 or 18, maybe 19, and we were in Toronto in the Platinum Suites, and we watched the Islanders walk past. This is 2000, 2001 maybe, and she watched the Islanders walk right past her, and she's looking at hockey players that are taller than her, and then she has to go. As Zdeno Chara walks by, and now he's back with the Islanders. How about the Islanders? The oldest team in the history of hockey. In like 2 weeks, they have signed Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara. They're so old that there are old folks' homes with younger people in them.
Hey, well, I'll tell you what, it'll be entertaining, no question.
Barry Trotz is doing a historical tradition team this year for the Islanders.
They'll be wearing their third jersey. Will be back in the 1920s.
Yeah, it'll be a 1950s Detroit Red Wings jersey.
Everything will be in black and white. That's how they start.
Every Islanders game is in black and white. Yeah.
Hey, listen, let's get started. Paul Maurice says this is the best, well-balanced lineup the Winnipeg Jets has had. You know that better than anybody, so we'll ask you that. Do you feel I'm really excited about obviously the Nate Schmidt? I love Brendan Dillon, and if Pierre-Luc Dubois can come to where he should be at this stage of his career, Paul Stastny's back in the saddle. Blake Wheeler's going to have a great season, I think, as a captain, being 35. But I think it's Scheifele that's really going to make the difference because of the way he ended his season last year. I think he's got a lot to prove. What's your thoughts on Paul Maurice's statement?
I think he's absolutely correct. He's not lying to anybody. The Winnipeg Jets. The first thing they did was they fixed the defense, and they fixed the defense cheaply. They got Nate Schmidt, who's still a really, really good hockey player, and they got him for a draft pick. And then they got Brendan Dillon for a couple of draft picks. And now all of a sudden, the wonky defense isn't as wonky as it was. Neil Pionk is turning into becoming one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Josh Morrissey expects to have a great season this year. It's like anything else, Kerry, and it's like every team in the NHL. It's all about injuries. Can you stay healthy? Do you have enough depth? Nobody plays the entire season. It seldom happens ever anymore. And what the Jets have to hope for is that this team has enough backup to the starting six on defense and enough backup to their scorers that they can survive the season. Hellebuck will be great again. I don't think anybody's worried about the goaltending. The defense is much, much better. And two things will make up the forward lines. One, Pierre-Luc Dubois, as you mentioned, has to be a better hockey player than he was last year. He was not as good as advertised. Neither was the guy who went to Columbus for him, Patrick Laine. He wasn't very good either. So the two of those players have to be better this year. And the unknown quantity and the player that I think everybody's looking at to kind of make a difference, maybe the next Kyle Connor, is Cole Perfetti. Cole Perfetti was the number one pick a year ago, not this past draft, but the draft before. He is an outstanding hockey player. He played with Canada at the World Championships. And at the World Championships, it seemed that every time he was on the ice, he scored a goal. He is a goal scorer. He is a tremendous offensive player. Can he make the transition to becoming a regular NHL player like Kyle Connor did, like so many young players have been able to do? And if he does that, if he gives the Jets that little extra scoring, then I think this is a team that can have a really, really, really successful season. And I'm kind of excited about what's coming up.
Well, I'm really excited. Look at that. Happy to be at the command and control of Gouche Live Productions. John LaRouche. Now he's obviously watching us and he's going to give us tips about what you do wrong, Scotty, of course. But I like this Winnipeg Jet makeup. We've solidified defense. I think Nate Schmidt, didn't have a great season in Vancouver. He's got a lot to prove. I love it when guys have things to prove, right? If you've had a great season, you're coming off, especially with COVID, you got a bunch of excuses. Now there are no excuses. He's got to come and play the way he can. I like him in Vegas. And I think, the Logan Stanley, I thought he had a tremendous season. Last year, you said, you couldn't believe that he would be in the lineup as long as he did. I loved him in the playoffs also. And I think the other defenseman, I think it's Heinola. How do you say his name? Billy.
Was that little gland right between your sphincter and your prostate?
No, that's the Gouche. That's the Gouche in the Urban Dictionary. Do not look it up. Warning, do not look up Gouche in the Urban Dictionary. I found out what it was on a radio show. Dean Blundell.
I'm a fan of him and a guy named Sami Niku. I would like to see them both get a lot more.
I like Niku. Yeah.
I like the way they play hockey. I like the way they play offensively. Tremendous skaters. Typical Finnish defensemen. They can skate the puck, move it out of their own end quickly, tend to make a mistake or two, but all young players do that. I'd really like to see both of them get a better opportunity to play. It's going to be hard, though, because Schmidt and Dillon are going to get in and complement quickly Morrissey and Pionk, and then after that, it's going to be Logan Stanley, and then we'll see who fills the hole. There's David Gustafson's got a chance to play. There's a lot of guys who have an opportunity to play on this team. And training camp. See, the great thing about training camp is that somebody's going to get a job, right?
Yep.
Somebody's going to come out of this with a job, and I'm kind of excited about the guys who have an opportunity, who'll be given a chance.
Hey, Scotty, when I was looking at this lineup, I want to ask you, what is the love affair with Finland? Like, there are a lot of players from Finland. Do we have a tremendous scouting makeup over in Helsinki and Tampere and all that? Tampere is actually in Sweden. I forget that.
Funny, I've never thought about it as Finland as much as the United States. This is a franchise loaded with American players now, with the addition of Nate Smith.
No, I get that, but I was just looking through really quickly and I saw
scouting matters. I think the people you see over there, I think that's part of it. But I wouldn't say. I would say that this team is scouting the best players they can in Europe, and lately, where they've been in the draft, it's happened to be Finnish players. Vesalainen, Niku, Heinola. So I think that's something that's just happened. The big scouting for this team has been and will continue to be in the United States. There is a love affair with U.S. college players and USHL graduates, American hockey players, and the addition of Schmidt to go with Wheeler and Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck, Neil Pionk. The best players on this team, or the players that are treated as the best players on this team, tend to be American hockey players.
Well, there's a kid on the lineup. I hear Greg Bowden in the background saying it's floorball, it's floorball, it's floorball, which is a huge sport, obviously, over in Europe. It has really started to develop. And again, thank God got our general in the command center. He's coming up with a lot of teams could take a lesson from the Jets. Playback, draft, and develop. Perfetti is a real deal. I agree with that. But there's one kid that interested me last year. He's one of those workaholics. It was God, I had it right here. Jansen Harkins. He's also American. I like this kid. I like the way he plays.
Yeah, he plays hard. He's very, very good third and fourth liner.
Yeah.
He's not going to score much for you, but he's going to give you that energy for 45 seconds, 30, 45 seconds. That's going to give some guys extra rest. He works really, really hard. He and Mason Appleton are kind of cut from the same cloth. They're not a lot of skill. Mason Appleton probably has more than Harkins. But it was Paul Maurice who said about Jansen Harkins, here is a guy who was never given much of an opportunity. He was never told he was ever going to play. He was never given anything for free, even at the Moose level. And Jansen Harkins has worked his way into a position where at a point last year with all the Jets' injuries, they could not keep him out of the lineup. It was not possible to keep him out of the lineup. And that was all because of his hard work. And that's the way he plays. You can watch him for days, and he's not going to score a lot of goals for you, but he's going to stick his nose in the corners. He's going to hit people. He's going to take hits to make plays. He is a real good journeyman hockey player who will get a chance to play this year for the Jets. I would think he'll play at least 40, 50 games.
And listen, when you look at the lineup with Andrew Kopp, Kyle Connor, I love Connor, the way he plays, Nikolai Ehlers, this is a very good I guess well balanced is from offense to defense to goaltending. It is, you walk through that whole lineup. They've got a team that contend for a run at the Stanley Cup. I want to ask you this question. There has been people that have questioned Paul Maurice, maybe not using the youth factor. I know you and I have had this conversation. I know my buddy Eric Mathis is going to probably not like what I'm going to say. He's one of those guys that he just doesn't like what Maurice has done with this club. If the Winnipeg Jets do not make it farther in the playoffs, do you feel that there could be, I think you've said it before, he's a lifer, but do you not think with now been given all the tools, he has to make sure that this club advances? And I'm thinking, a Stanley Cup final is where this team should end up.
Wouldn't that be great? That'd be really, really a lot of fun.
Well, it'd be better if they won the Stanley Cup.
With the new name to the rink and all the stuff going on downtown. True North Square is just phenomenal.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's just such a wonderful place to watch hockey and a wonderful place to party around hockey.
Yeah.
It'll be great to have people back in the rink this year, double vaxxed, but back in the rink. I'm kind of excited about the future of this hockey club and where it's going. I'm also excited about the fact that I think that Paul Maurice, I've talked to people at levels that I think a lot of people don't talk to just because of a different relationship I have with the club. And I think the general consensus there is that Paul Maurice and Mark Chipman will determine together when Paul Maurice is finished. I don't see the Jets firing him. I know they're not even going to think about firing Kevin Cheveldayoff, the general manager, who did just a remarkable job in the offseason. There are a ton of people in this town, mostly the loud ones on Twitter, many of whom have never been to a game live, who love to yell and scream and jump up and down and say that Paul Maurice is an idiot and Kevin Cheveldayoff couldn't run a hockey team and blah, blah, blah. I am now a firm believer in Bill Belichick's line this week, which was, we played football before social media and we're still going to play now, and it didn't matter then and it doesn't matter now. Nobody at the Jets is reading Twitter. Nobody at the Jets with any authority is reading Twitter and saying, I got to fire that Paul Maurice because those guys on Twitter don't like him. The reality is that Paul Maurice and Mark Chipman have a great relationship. Paul Maurice and Kevin Cheveldayoff have a great relationship. They all run that hockey team as a group. There are no rifts in that club at all. And despite what people want to say, there aren't any rifts in the locker room either. The most interesting thing I always hear is, it's all cliquey and these guys hang around with these guys and these guys there's all these rifts in the locker room. These are written by people who never played sports. I've been on sports teams my entire life, and I was on sports teams up until senior in my 40s and 50s, and I can tell you there's always a group of people that hang around together. 12 guys or 15 guys or 20 guys don't go to dinner together every night. 3 go to dinner. A bunch of guys go with their wives. I mean, the hockey team is exactly the same as life. I don't live with Kerry Goulet, but he's my friend, right? The point is that to say you don't get along with somebody because you don't hang with them after the game is the same as saying Paul Maurice is an idiot because he doesn't play this guy or that guy. Yeah. My response to everybody who says Paul Maurice should be fired is, okay, fine. Who's better? You find me a better coach that's available. Find me a better guy who's going to do more things with this team than Paul Maurice is.
But you still have to have success.
Available that's better. Yeah, if Barry Trotz were available, maybe I'd say go hire Barry Trotz.
All right, but it is a league of success, and right now I think the Winnipeg Jets' time is now, and they got I think a couple of year window, so he has to have a team that's right at the end of the playoffs, close to challenging for the Stanley Cup. And that is my opinion. And like it if you don't, I don't care because we don't hang together.
Right, exactly. Listen, your point's right. I take your point, but the fact of the matter is, what if 7 guys get hurt for 2 months? You blame that in the coach?
No, okay, but again, you can take that you take that in consideration. Scott, but every team gets injuries, so I'm not a Paul Maurice hater. Listen, I want the Jets to succeed. I'm only saying that there has got to be a cost. Listen, Toronto Maple Leaf fans, it's how many? 67. You do the math. I can't even figure that out with a calculator. There comes a time where you have to make it. You have to make a change, bud. If you don't have success, that's what this is all about. Listen, I did.
The Leafs are making changes for 54 years, and they still haven't won. 54 years of changes, and they make them constantly. And they pay all that money to Babcock, but he turned out to be an idiot. And now they paid this money to O'Keefe, and he's going to be an idiot. They all end up being idiots at some point, don't they? And so Toronto's had no success whatsoever changing their coaches and their managers constantly.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Hey, listen, let's get into something that you talked about before I let you go. You talked about what they're doing downtown Winnipeg. I'm here with my good buddy Greg Bowden. He drove me around the city. And what Rogers Arena and BC Place, they're all doing it now. They're making these communities. They have skyscrapers beside all these apartments, condos, restaurants. The one here in Vancouver is absolutely spectacular, where obviously the BC Lions and, of course, the Vancouver Canucks play. It's a trend. Winnipeg looks fantastic. Obviously, downtown Toronto has done an absolute phenomenal job. Edmonton, when I went to there, not quite. It's a beautiful facility, but they haven't built the core area around it. Is that the thing of the future? Is that how these teams are going to be able to, now they're putting logos on their jerseys. Obviously, they're going to use their real estate opportunities to really turn it into a profit center.
I think one of the things that you have to look to is Wrigleyville. And I don't know if you've been to Chicago lately or even the last 5 or 10 years, but Wrigleyville has become a city unto itself around Wrigley Field. And it's all been because of the owners of the Cubs. They bought up all the old housing. They bought up a bunch of old buildings. When you watch the Chicago Cubs play baseball, and you see in the outfields all those bleachers now on the buildings across the street, those buildings, most of them, almost all of them, have been purchased by Cubs ownership. The Cubs own the whole area. And what's happened in Winnipeg is with the building of True North Square is basically the people who own the Jets own the big lot across both streets. They don't own Winnipeg Place or Eaton Place or whatever it's called this week. It used to be Eaton Place, but I don't think it's that anymore. I think it's Winnipeg Center or Winnipeg Square or something. But that group of people is tying everything into the arena because you can walk from the parking lot in the mall, into the arena without ever having to go outside in Winnipeg. You can go from the convention center now, parking in the convention center, all the way to the arena, and you never have to see Winnipeg at 40 below.
40?
50. It's always a wonderful. It's now just a tremendous place to go and watch hockey. Everything is fan oriented. I would say to you that the walkways will start going across the street soon, across Portage Avenue, more to the Alt Hotel that's across there. There's picking up the other building across the street. This is going to be at some point in time just basically Winnipeg Jets Square, and it all started. I think it all started with Fenway Park in Boston, and then was doubled with Wrigleyville in Chicago. And now everybody has seen this, and that's the way it has to be, that it's not just the building, but it's all of the real estate around it. So that when the Jets get into the playoffs, as they did back in 2018, well before COVID, when they reached the Western Final, it was a major whiteout party on the street. It was a tremendous time to be around hockey in Winnipeg. And it's all because of real estate. And it's a trend of the future everywhere that wants to be successful. Boy, if you've been to Tampa, it's so much fun around that.
Oh, it's crazy. I love the bands.
Yeah, it's just, and they've picked up property across the street. And they picked up the parking lots now behind. It's just a party right from the boat launch right into downtown Tampa. And it's just been all because of the owners making the commitment to hockey.
Well, and also winning a couple Stanley Cups.
Well, yeah, but you can do that when you have good ownership, right?
Of course. As we wrap up here, I want to do a shout out to Paul Rosen. We'll see him at 4:00. We're doing a little roundtable with him. He hasn't been on the last week. He's been working with Jamie McGuire, which is fantastic, training the future kids goaltender. But I'm here in Vancouver not only to play in this great event, Battle for Blood Cancer. I'm also here with Greg Bowden and the family. They are organizing the 50th anniversary. 50 years when the World Hockey Association took the world by storm and I believe changed the makeup of hockey forever. And another event, right now it's going to be in Whistler. It's looking like October 2022. We'll be bringing a lot more events. I know, Scotty, you'll be here with us. We'll do Talking with Taylor live from Whistler. Maybe we'll be on top of a ski mountain. And I was on the phone yesterday with with Ron Ellis and had the opportunity to talk to him about the fact that it will also be the 50th anniversary of the Summit Series back September, obviously in 72. So two incredible historic events will happen in hockey, and I know we're going to be a big part of it. And when I said to Ron, what are your thoughts? It's been 50 years, and the only thing that he could think of is all the people that we've lost along the way. Obviously, just losing Tony O, of course, is just horrific, and Rod Gilbert, of course, and your good friend John Ferguson. I know it's been a while, but just that the color of the toughest guy I know in the NHL.
September 5th, he was supposed to be 83 years old.
Yeah. So as we let you go, can you give us? Were you there in Winnipeg Arena in 1972 when they played?
No, I was at the University of Guelph in 1972.
What the hell are you doing there?
Playing basketball for Garney Henley. I didn't come to Winnipeg till 76.
God, I wanted to get a great story from you, and now you're shooting me down.
No, I wasn't there in 72. I was still in university. I came to Winnipeg in 76, and almost immediately just hooked on to the Winnipeg Jets. I remember taking my dad to his first Jets game from Ontario. And he hadn't seen much World Hockey Association hockey by 76 or 77. He was still an NHL guy and was absolutely blown away by a playoff game between Winnipeg and Quebec. I don't remember the exact score, but it was something like 12-9. And we saw Tardif and Hull and Hedberg and Nilsson and Schoberg. And through it all, my dad said, I think my favorite player was Perry Miller. Now, there's a blast from the past in the World Hockey Association. So he had the time of his life watching goal after goal after goal. The offense was spectacular. And I think the one thing that people have forgotten, and certainly people that never got to see the World Hockey Association, forget about all the offensive superstars that played in that league. Goal scoring was often right off the right out the door because there was so much skill, and probably if there was a weak spot in that league, it was defense because of course the owners were smart enough to say, let's just go score goals, let's get all these thrilling offensive players, and that's who they signed. Those are the guys they brought in. And that's why Norm Bowden was the first player ever to sign for the Jets. Hey,
but hang on a sec. You're bringing up Norm Bowden. Was sitting around, I think it was called Joey's last night. Everybody telling stories, and I'm telling how great I am because nobody knew it. So I'm, doing it. And then all of a sudden, Norm says, Greg says, did you know my dad scored a goal and won a game as a goaltender in the same game? So what? I guess a goalie got hurt. What was his name? Ernie Wakely got hurt in a game. Norm had scored a goal in the game. They didn't have a backup, so it was Scott. Who's it called? Scotty Bowman went in the room and said, okay, who's played any net here? And Normie put his hand, the finger up, says, you're in net. So he actually went in net, and they had Phil Esposito was playing against him. You got it in history. We need Liam McGuire to pick this one up. I'm going to actually you and I are going to do a story. Next week, that's what we're going to talk about. Has there ever been a player that has scored a goal and won the game as a goaltender? And not with just, this isn't talking beer league, like what I play and, of course, how Jordan plays. This is an actual, what league was it?
EPHL, Claude LaRose, LaPierre.
Terry Harper. Terry Harper. These are big name. So we're going to do that. Next week, I'm going to bring that up, and you and I will talk. Do your research, because that's what I know you can do.
Well, you got to go deep to find that league.
No, I'm right here. I got the guy. I'm playing with him today. I'll get all the stories.
Get all the stories.
Scotty, can't thank you enough for joining us on Talking with Taylor. We'll see you next week. I really look forward to the new magazine. It's out now, Game On, and I hear that Shifley's an actor.
You just have to go online and read Game On online at gameonhockey.ca and see Mark Shifley as an actor. He's tremendous.
Well, if you ever watch the movie
Best jock actor since Peyton Manning.
If you ever watch the movie Night Shift, there's a classic line where I can't remember Mike Keaton. Is it Mike Keaton?
Michael Keaton. Yes. Michael
Keaton's watching the Flintstones, and he turns around to Fonzie and says, "That Barney Rubble, he's a hell of an actor." See you, kid.
See ya.
All right. Thank you for being a part of another great Talking with Taylor Gouche Live Productions right here. Thanking the Hockey News and, of course, Sports Illustrated. And don't forget, Jordan will not allow me to forget this one. We are on Facebook. Make sure you check it out. We're Twittering. We're TikToking. You know what? We're doing that Spotify. Heck, we're even on Apple Music. Make sure you check it out. See you next week.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gouche, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.